I'm going to turn the gavel over to Senator Schatz. I apologize. There's some additional...
I object.
You don't get the right to object.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'd like to hear. But there's other issues affecting our committee that are on the floor at this particular moment that I'm required to be over for. I want the members to know they have until the close of business tomorrow, questions for the record. And Dr. Campbell, I would ask that you get them back as quickly as possible and as thoroughly as possible, because we are trying to expedite the consideration of your nomination, considering the importance it is to the State Department. And Senator Risch and I are going to try to expedite the consideration, but it will require you to make sure you get your answers back as quickly and as thoroughly as possible.
We'll get it done, Chairman. Thank you.
And with that, I was going to recognize Senator Booker, but after his comments, he's going to have to wait a little bit longer. All right. Senator Booker.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry to see you go. I'm going to go quickly before the power goes to Schatz's head. It is great to see you here, especially with the two women at your back. You kind of did a daughter diss. She's sacrificing not taking that test today that she was prepared for and she was going to ace, but she decided to come here to support you, and I'm extraordinary to see that. I am very excited about your leadership. I'm very grateful and excited to vote for you on the floor. I just want to try to use this as an opportunity to look into the future and talk about the continent of Africa.
Yeah.
I know your specialty is Asia, and that is such an important part of the globe, but I don't think most people understand that the emergence that Africa will have in the next 50 years. I mean, even by 2050 alone, they're going to be so large that 1 out of every 4 people on the planet Earth will be Africans. It's a country that this youth bulge, while China's declining demographically, Europe is declining demographically, we have demographic challenges here. That youth bubble in Africa really is going to have an extraordinary shaping element on all of humanity. And then you add into that arts and culture, you add into that their booming tech sector and innovation sector, you add into that their control of critical natural resources for the future of our planet. What's astounding to me is how we, who are only 4% of the globe population, don't do more to understand that our growth, our future, not just our security, but the upside of the possibilities of showing up more in partnership with African nations. And so could you please help me understand how you view this? And clearly, in my opinion, looking at China's activities on the continent, even Russia's activities on the continent, we are not necessarily matching in terms of focus, energy, investment, partnerships to the degree that I think we should to counter those influences on the continent.
Senator, thank you very much. I do want to just begin by saying I am grateful that my daughter Coco is here. And, you know, it's supposed to be the case that the parents teach the children. There isn't hardly a week that goes by. I've rarely seen a more disciplined person. You know, that old adage, do your job. Coco always does her job, never has to be reminded. I'm the one who has to be reminded to do my job. Senator, I've had a number of conversations with you. One of the things that we have not discussed is that I am actually an old Africanist. My PhD thesis at Oxford was on Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember I did get a call a few years ago saying, congratulations, your thesis has won an award, a typically British call. And I thought, oh, fantastic. What is the award? It said it's the book made most irrelevant by history. So it was Soviet policy towards South Africa, but I traveled extensively in the region. I've gone overland across Africa several times. I've spent a lot of time in East Africa in assistance programs. I know Southern Africa better. I completely associate myself with everything that you've said, and I'd go even further. You know, you look at the number of coups. Chairman Cardin talked about the number of coups that we've taken place in the last several years, the fragility of certain states, the challenges that we face, that some of the dominant countries that we've based much of our engagement on are facing challenges. I think the whole region holds enormous promise, but also it's an area that we have to step up our game. Now, I have been very impressed with what Secretary Blinken and his team has done, but there still needs to be more. We need to make sure that we're working on critical minerals more directly. I think advancing governance, democratic practices, human rights, calling out where we see real challenges, as we saw yesterday, both the chairman and Secretary of State on Sudan. I do want to just say that if confirmed, I've talked to the Secretary about this. I intend to offer what assistance and personal engagement I can. We have to step up our game. We are being contested in the Global South. It is there that, frankly, I worry the most. I'm not sure that, look, I think a few years ago, some of these countries looked at China carefully. I think they are more worried about the model that China offers, bringing in its own workers, not as much transparency. I think what we have to offer in terms of our role, our investment capacity with the DFC and others, I think we have a lot to bring to Africa, and my hope is that we'll be able to continue to do that.
So let me say this in conclusion again, because I fear Schatz is drunk with power over there and might cut me off because now they've gone over my time. But just really quickly, there's so much attention right now on Ukraine and what's happening in Israel and what's happening in Gaza. But if you look at the sheer numbers of children that are dying right now from the Horn to Sudan, it dwarfs. And yet we don't seem to see the same kind of outrage in our engagement on the continent. And in Sudan in particular, with over 5 million displaced people, I just want to urge you and our great Secretary of State to think about a special envoy for Sudan to really make that more of a focus and a priority of our diplomatic power. And then a final thing I'll just say, and I'm going to regret this, I'm sure, but my childhood nickname by my mother when I was a kid was Coco. And that's why I just want to make a predictive element that as great as her father is, that I think that the daughter will one day, there'll be another Coco perhaps sitting on this dais in the future.
Concur with that, Senator. I know time is short. I saw the statement put out by Chairman Cardin yesterday asking for a special envoy. I just want to promise you we're going to look at that very carefully, and we are highly attentive to what we see taking place there. Secretary Blinken's statement yesterday speaks for itself in terms of our concerns about war crimes. So I take very seriously what you're suggesting, and I do want to commit to you as much focus and attention as I can bring to the issues.
I'm very grateful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your grace and mercy.